ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, please welcome the moderator of the session, Georgia's Infrastructure for a Connected Future, Miss Nisha Pillai, international moderator and journalist.
Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this panel session on Georgia's infrastructure for a connected future. I'm Nisha Pillai, as we just heard, and it's my great pleasure to be with you today. Now, why are we meeting here today? Well, as we all know, this is a time of huge investment across the country aimed at modernizing and expanding infrastructure across many different modalities. And the goal is singular: to establish the Middle Corridor as a viable alternative to traditional trade routes, right? So this is what you're going to hear about today. Many ambitious infrastructure plans, projects being developed across rail, across road, across ports, across airports, and of course, electricity. How does that sound? Good? Well, let's get started. It's all focused on creating and establishing and strengthening Georgia's gateway role between East and West. Let me introduce you now to our brilliant panelists. It's my pleasure to invite up to the stage, first off, Her Excellency Tamar Yosseliani, Deputy Minister of the Ministry of Economy and Sustainable Development of Georgia. Please take a seat, Ms. Tamar. She has years of experience in public administration, including 15 years in the transport sector, serving as chair of the United Airports of Georgia Supervisory Board and the Anaklia Deep Sea Port, which is particularly what you're going to talk to us about today, right? Okay, next up, Mr. Lasha Apashidze, General Director of Georgian Railways. Welcome, Mr. Lasha. Mr. Lasha has held senior roles in both public and private sectors, including Deputy Mayor of Tbilisi and Head of the Administration of the President of Georgia. Who else? Mr. Levan Karanadze. Please come on up, Mr. Levan. Chairman of the Supervisory Council of Sakairo Navigatia. Mr. Levan is heir from beginning to end of his whole career, former director of the Georgian Civil Aviation Agency, and he also chairs the European Aviation Systems Planning Group. Looking forward to hear about the airport expansions. Welcome, Mr. Zviad Gachicheladze. Please come on up onto the stage, member of the Board of Directors of the Georgian State Electro System, and he also chairs the Supervisory Board of the Georgian Energy Exchange and serves on the board of GECO. And finally, as we say, last but not least, Mr. Cemal Zabakhidze. Please come on up, Mr. Cemal. Recently appointed Deputy Chairman of the Roads Department of Georgia. We heard in the opening ceremony how the roads have just expanded over the last 10 years, and we're going to hear about how they're going to continue to develop. Mr. Cemal previously managed international projects at JSC, Georgian State Electro System, and advised the director at JSC ESCO. Now, before we get started, I'd like to invite anyone who wants an even better view of the proceedings to move to the front over there and take up the seats that have been vacated by our eminent speakers. Feel free to get a better view if you'd like. Now, we're going to start with the deep sea port in Anaklia. It's a hugely ambitious project. Ms. Tamar, can you give us an overview of the port project? How is it going to help trade efficiency along the Middle Corridor?
Thank you, Nisha. First of all, let me begin with the forum, and let me begin with that the Tbilisi Silver Forum offers really valuable platform to highlight Georgia's vision for connectivity, where infrastructure meets investment and these opportunities. So I'm confident that our discussions, particularly on the Anaklia Deep Sea Port, will underscore its vital role in advancing Middle Corridor and strengthening sustainable trade and cooperation between Europe and Asia. So let's start with the Georgia's maritime infrastructure and the figures, what we do have right now. But firstly, let me give you a brief overview about the maritime infrastructure. So over the past 2 decades, Georgia has actively encouraged private sector participation, building a strong competitive network of ports along the Black Sea coast. So we currently have 2 multi-purpose ports in Poti and Batumi, and 2 oil terminals in Supsa and Ulevi. Poti port is actually operated by APM terminals. We there have 15 berths with approximately from 8 to 9 meters of depth, and still Poti remains a heart of Georgia's port system. In Batumi, we do have operator Gaztrans-Oil, while Batumi Container Terminal is operated by ICTSI. In Supsa, we have BP, and in Ulevi, we have SOCAR operating. Also, let me mention the newest addition to our port infrastructure, and this is the Poti New Seaport, which opened in 2022, and through cooperation of PACE and US DFC. Altogether, those ports, actually, we can see on the screen as well, they can handle around 9 million tons of dry cargo, 29.5 million tons of oil products, and 1.7 million tons of ferry cargo. Here comes also 850,000 TEUs of containers freight. In 2024, our ports actually received around 1,700 vessels, and we handled roughly 600,000 TEUs and 5.6 million tons of cargo, reaching almost a full capacity. And it's important to note that container throughput has increased 20% comparing last year, 9 months. So here, that's exactly why new deep sea port is essential, and Anaklia Deep Sea Port will be the next strategic step in Georgia's maritime development, expanding our capacity, attracting larger vessels, and strengthening sustainable connectivity across the middle corridor. So let me give you this main characteristics for the phase 1 of Anaklia Deep Sea Port. Here we can say that construction is already under the way with the capacity of 8 million tons per year and around 600,000 TEUs. And early capex, the estimate capex is around 600 million US dollars, including 200 million in public investment developed under PPP model. The investment area is around 1,000 hectares, and port area is around 400 hectares. So as I have mentioned, we have PPP model and port management model in landlord with 49 years of concession, and with its modern design and efficient layout and reliable operating conditions, over 95% of uptimes in Anaklia will serve high-capacity regional hub on the Black Sea, strengthening connectivity in Central Asia, Europe, and the global market. So we can move on the ongoing works and what we are doing right now. As I have mentioned, we've started the construction of Anaklia Deep Sea Port. The state-owned company, Poti Anaklia Seaport, has actually announced the tender, and we have already started the dredging of the seabed, and the design of construction of the breakwater are being carried out by the Yandanul, one of the world's big 4 marine infrastructure companies selected through the international tender process. So Yandanul brings exceptional global experience in large scale of port and coastal engineering projects. So far, we have ended the mobilization works, and we can say that we are ready for the construction. Actually, the design of the breakwater has also been elaborated by very reputable company, Royal Haskoning, and these are now under the final evaluation, paving the way for the start of full-scale construction. So I can say that all permits have been issued and reserved and has been elaborated by well-known and reputable companies, and both with the final breakwater design and updated environmental impact assessment. So we can move, and I can show you now the phases how we will actually go after the phase one. So Anaclea Deep Sea Port is planned as a long-term, multi-purpose and multi-phase project that will expand in step with Georgia's trade growth and regional demand. So according to the master plan, the port will be developed in 9 phases, increasing from 600,000 containers in phase 1 up to 4.5 million containers in phase 9, more than 100 million tons of total cargo. So as I have mentioned, first phase is up to 645 million USD, and it's already on the way. And I think that this strong PPP partnership reflects our confidence in Anaclea's strategic importance and our commitment to the timely delivery. And we have to say as well that the first vessel will be actually in Anaclea by 2029. So, to actually wrap up and give you the insights on about Anaclea, I can say that Anaclea is not the port, and it's the platform from the growth and transformation. It is designed to attract investment, foster manufacturing, and create value-added logistics processing industries with the I think it will strengthen also Georgia's role in the regional trade. It is very important that we are considering to have a free industrial zone adjacent to the Anaclea seaport, creating integrated space for trade production and innovation. Equally, it's very important that Anaclea seaport will be the green port and actually sustainable and resilient infrastructure. You will agree it's very important in this sense. So this project is already creating tangible benefits. We can say that during the construction, jobs already created is around 300, and in total we are on the initial phase we are looking for 1,000 jobs to be created. And of course, port cannot thrive without strong hinterland connections. That's why government of Georgia is heavily investing in East-West highway and modernization of the railway. My colleagues will touch upon those matters. So at the final note, I can say that Anaclea stands as a symbol for Georgia's forward-looking development, built on partnership, sustainability, and connectivity, a bridge between Europe and Asia. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Tamar, and good luck for 2029. We're now going to find out more about Georgia's railway modernization programs, already underway and going to be expanding. Mr. Lasha, I'd like you to take over the floor now. 2025 is going to be a big year, I understand, for the railways. Can you tell us all about it?
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Nisha. Thank you. So today I want to highlight mainly for the two projects that we already have completed. One is the modernization project. We call it the railway modernization project, and second is the Baku-Tbilisi railway cars project. So on the first project, so we have under this project more than 10 bridges. We have 6 tunnels. The longest tunnel is more than 8 kilometers, and we have built completely new railway track. So this railway tracks gives us ability to make the switch from the old one, because on the old one, on the old railway track, we are having now the highest slopes and the curves, because of this we have the limitations and restrictions with the speed and with the weight of the train. So another project is the BTK. So BTK is already completed, and it connects Georgia and Azerbaijan to Turkey. So it is very important project in the regional, because it opens the new connectivity for the region. So on the BTK project, we also have the new terminal in Akhalkalaki station and the junction section. Also, we have the handling operations we are executing there. Also, the handling. So, what are the benefits for these two important projects? So the benefits are for the modernization that we are increasing the capacity from 27 to 48 million tons per year. So we have very substantial improvement in the rail safety. We are also, because we are switching to the new line, we are avoiding these strict limitations that the old line is having today. So we have now at least 2 stops. So we will avoid these 2 stops, and we can cross directly to this very mountainous region, mountainous area of this track. And that's why, like, because we will avoid the stops, we will decrease the time, and we will increase the capacity in terms of the output of the cargos. So, and on top of this, we are reducing also the operational costs. This will be like really, we will have the huge impact after this project. So another for the main like points for the BTK project, and the main what we will gain from this project is that it opens the new connectivity for the middle corridor. So it opens the new connections to the participants and to the members of the nations of the middle corridor. It opens the direct connection to the Turkey and after to the Mediterranean. So that's why, and this project has its capacity at least 5 million tons per year. So that's why it's very important to projects that we have already completed, and the next year for the railway, I think it will be very substantial improvements we will have. And these 2 projects is very like significant for us. So what is our plans, what are our plans, and what we have for the next year? So, as I said, modernization is already completed. Now we are starting to switch to the new line. We already starting the testing to cross the trains on the testing regimes. So we are also, what we have today, the problem is, as we know all that trains on the railways, like they are crossing and they are moving to border, to country to country. They are stopping so they are stopping on the border. So now we are in the process that we want to make it online, the customs clearance, because at least 5 to 7 hours on the customs we have the stops for the trains. Now we are working with our partner, like neighboring countries, to have in advance all the custom clearance, like documentation. This will allow us not to have stops on the customs, and this will cut at least 5 to 7 hours. So another issue and challenge that we face today is that we have a lack and shortage in rolling stock, especially with the locomotives. So that's why we made the decision to not go with the old locomotives repairings. So we made decision, and we initiated already the procurement process to renew the whole fleet of our locomotive park. So we will renew, and we will have the new locomotives in the park. So, and another also important point is that because of this project of the modernization of this customs clearance of this like traffic, we are changing the traffic operating like instructions and manuals. Currently, to cross from the border of Georgia, of Azerbaijan to the Black Sea ports, we need at least from 22, 24 hours. So after this, like we need to decrease the time maximum that we can. So we will decrease time by the next year, and we will decrease in 12 hours. So in 12 hours from border to Azerbaijan to Black Sea ports, we will be able to cross the country in 12 hours. So this will be the huge and substantial improvement for the Georgian railway, and for not only railway, for the middle corridor, and for the country as a member of this middle corridor, as a strategic actor of the middle corridor.
Absolutely, and for to support global value chains.
Yes.
Mr. Lasha, you've explained that really well. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Shrinking the times,
Yes.
not just by the stock, but also by improving the locomotives and by the digitalization, so that the whole customs process is speeded up. Fantastic. Thank you very much, Mr. Lasha.
Thank you.
So let's find out now more about Georgia's airport infrastructure expansions. A lot is going on, and here's Mr. Levan, who is Mr. Airport, like I said earlier. I know that you're expanding the big development at Kutaisi and Vatsiani. How does that all connect into the middle corridor transitions that we're talking about?
Well, thank you, Anisha, and good afternoon, colleagues. I will try to squeeze in. I know that we are short of time, but I wanted to just admit that we are full house here, and this is not the frequent case. So I appreciate all the guests coming here and to listen to our talks. Well, I will try to move it myself. Yeah, we have benefited throughout couple of decades the steady growth in aviation sector, thanks to the different actors actively engaging. Is it industry or regulatory authority or political level? So currently we have 122 destinations by all our airports served with 40 countries, around 80 airline companies, and the airline companies operating in Georgian airports are growing. We benefit, and we have this luxury of having more than 30 so-called liberal agreements without having restrictions there. So that yielded, of course, the traffic here. We have benefit of having visa-free regime with more than 100 countries. Our airports are operational for 24 hours. We don't have night curfews, we don't have operational restrictions, and in addition to that, we don't have slot coordinated airports so far. So all that during the last 2 decades has shown the significant growth in the connectivity, but also in the figures and the number. Just to show you a little bit of history there. In the chart you can see that back in 2011, even in 2010, we had less than 1 million passengers served by all our airports. There are 3 major international airports, but in 2025 already we are expecting more than 8 million passengers to be served. So there is a steady growth for 24%, like average growth between 2014 and 2019, before COVID period. But what's important here to show is that after the COVID, we have had the recovery rate quite high, one of the best in the world maybe. So, and this is what I have observed during my career for like almost 20 years in aviation, that despite the crisis we go through, I mean, our recovery rate or resilience is quite high, so we get back on track quite quickly. We have enjoyed the huge growth in cargo volumes, in passenger volumes, in frequencies, so it's around 24-25%, which is a very high figures, and the growth continues still. But to secure the growth and to give further impetus, we need to invest boldly in aviation infrastructure, because we don't have time to lose and to have an impediment not having timely infrastructure made available. That's why government decided to go and invest to 2 major projects, which I will be talking today. It's Kutaisi International Airport expansion and also Vaziane Airport. But those of us who have had an opportunity to listen to the introductory video, you've seen that it has been mentioned that this is a constant process. I see now I have representatives from aviation industry and TAVs here sitting. I mean, we have seen the expansion. You cannot have 1 million passenger versus 8 million served without infrastructure to be built. So we had the example with Kutaisi Airport, we had the example with Tbilisi Airport, so it's kind of a constant process. So, but we are facing the future, and it's promising future. Therefore, in Kutaisi's case, the operator came up with a master plan with support of Ministry of Environment and IATA Consulting. So because we were approaching 1.7 million, the capacity of the airport, 1.7 million, almost 2 million passengers. Therefore, the expectation is that we will be serving more than 5 million passengers by 2043. That's quite high, significant growth. Therefore, Kutaisi needs the big expansion. And this is ongoing project already. The phase 1 already started. We are building 3,500 meter length runway there. category F runway, which will be serving all type of aircraft, in fact. The project, we expect that it's gonna be around 141 million USD total during the lifetime of the master plan. Funding sources would be public and private, and mostly PPP, maybe BOT as well could have been considered, but PPP type. To speak a little bit more about the phases, for currently it's the full-scale ongoing groundworks in Kutaisi, the building of the runway, and the current runway will be considered as a parallel runway, so that there will be terminal expansion between 2024-2027 and new facilities for de-icing and etc. So the phase 2 is full farm, commercial airport expansion, and so on. I mean, I don't want to go into all the details. We have the CEO here, we have Tamara here, so myself, and I will be happy to speak afterwards. So also to include as a cargo potential of Kutaisi, because of excellent location with the current facilities with the railway, in close proximity to railway, we have close proximity to East-West Highway. There is a huge potential for Kutaisi to serve as a regional cargo hub. That's why in the plan there is to build the terminal facilities for cargo operations. So we truly believe that it will be additional potential for this middle corridor and for Kutaisi area because of the excellent location and facilities there nearby with free economic zone and etc. Similarly, when we speak about the Bazen airport, first of all, there is always this kind of speculation, I don't know why, but I have to make it clear that there will not be another airport in Tbilisi. So Bazen airport will, once we move to Vaziani, the current operation in Tbilisi airport will cease. So we're not gonna have two parallel operations. We don't have that much capacity here needed to operate two airports in parallel. So it's gonna be the only airport for serving region and the capital. The growth trends has shown us that for the last 15 years we have significant growth, and also Tbilisi could have been expanded, but the long-term calculations, I mean, current location of Tbilisi airport is almost 100 years. I mean, the current one, I mean, not the current one, but the location was built there like 1930s, early 1930s, therefore it's almost 100 years ago. So we can understand that city is also growing. And so the plan is to construct Greenfield Airport. It's like 3,600 meters with passenger from 5 million up to 20 million passengers annually to be served. Its project is, our estimates are around $1.2 billion, and yeah, well, there is a significant idea also to give an opportunity while building this new airport to embrace the technological advancements and unleash all the opportunities related to sustainable aviation fuel and greener airports. That's in terms of location, this is the best ever possible location for Tbilisi alternative airport because it's only around 8 kilometers from the current location and quite in a proximity with also the highway, planned highway. Similarly, we have 3 phases for a moment. We are now in a feasibility study, in fact, but there will be the fencing, site clearing, leveling, demolition of certain buildings. So we'll be happy to speak about those steps, but due to time constraints, I know that I cannot spend more than 10 minutes. So, well, the expectation is 2031. It's going to be start of operations, but before, I mean, the August for next questions. So this is it. I mean, 4,000 additional jobs We expect 1,200 jobs during the construction phase, and in the end, we're gonna have, with these two projects, they will be the backbone of our future infrastructure of aviation. So we truly believe that for the next decades to come, those two projects will be enablers.
We'll keep your hands full, right, Mr. Levan? Thank you very much. And thanks for clarifying that Tbilisi Airport is going to move to Vaziani. They're not going to have two running simultaneously. That was very interesting. So let's find out now about the highways expansions that have been going on. I mean, obviously, we're going to need more highway to link to the new airport, but there's a lot has been going on, hasn't there? So let's find out where we're at and where we're going, and I'm going to hand over now to Mr. Cemal.
Thank you, Nisha. First of all, welcome, dear guests, esteemed colleagues, and organizers of the forum, which helps us highlight the importance of the role of Georgia in the Middle Corridor and in the global trade and the global value chain. From the perspective of the Roads Department, we are managing 7,000 kilometers of roads and highways, of which 1,600 are of international nature. In the last years, there has been significant amount of financing, planning, and effort dedicated towards making Georgia more transit friendly. As you can see from the numbers, in just the last 12 years, we've spent almost $4 billion USD on only highway construction, so international highway construction. But what is more important is that of these 3.7 billion, 2/3 was spent in just the 5 years. So there is a shift towards making Georgia more transit-friendly, making the highway safer, and in accordance with all international or national standards. Due to this dedication, at this point, we have in total more than 300 kilometers of highways with an increased capacity of safely transporting 40,000 vehicles per hour, compared to the standard, which was 14,000, so it's more than double. By the year 2032, we plan to also update another additional 220 kilometers of highways, making it total that Georgia will have 550 kilometers of modernized highways with the capacity to transport. Additionally, from 2028, we're planning to build an additional 2 lanes on the Tbilisi-Gori section, which is one of the most transit-heavy parts of the Georgian highway, therefore allowing transit for up to 100,000 vehicles per hour, so doubling, almost tripling the existing numbers. In order to accommodate both travelers and cargo haulers across the country, we have strategically placed rest stations, petrol stations and EV stations so that all travelers or cargo haulers moving across our highways can avoid all populated areas and can just use Georgia as a safe passage from east to west and from west to east. Under the Highway Modernization Program, the end goal for the Road Department of Georgia and Georgia as a whole is to develop 760 kilometers of highways. Nearly half of this is already constructed, and in the next year, maybe 2 years, we're planning to construct an additional 71 kilometers, with the remaining sections being planned until 2032. As you can see on the map now, this is the main direction, which is the east-west highway, which will span for 430 kilometers. But when and connecting all ports, airports, and all infrastructure projects. But when speaking about the east-west highway, we must also mention the Anaklia Port Access Road, which will be connecting Anaklia to Santrădia and through Santrădia to the east-west highway. It is also important to mention the north-south direction, which covers the distance from Larsi border cross point all the way to Tbilisi and then connecting to the southern direction. And lastly, the Kakheti direction, which is currently ongoing, 40 kilometers already built. And by the year 2032, we're planning to finalize most, if not all, of these projects. Now to discuss in more detail the main project is the East-West Highway. So originally, the travel time for East-West Highway in good conditions was 8 hours. This, as you can see now, is the old direction of the East-West Highway. With the original planning, the East-West Highway was crossing many settlements, populated areas, and the transit capacity was not high enough to accommodate enough transit. Since 2007, we have started rehabilitating and rebuilding this highway. And Now on the graph you'll be able to see in the green you can see what has been completed. So most of the most complicated parts of the highway are already completed. We sometimes call it the project of the century due to, first of all, the financing of it, which in total is 4 billion USD to cover the distance from Red Bridge and Sadakhlo all the way to the Sarpi border cross point, uniting the ports of Batumi and Poti. Additionally, we will have a Tbilisi bypass road, which will also avoid the transit to avoid the capital of Georgia. The travel time now across the highway, the existing highway, is almost 5 hours, but once we fully complete it, the transfer in worst of conditions should not take more than 4 hours. Next, when speaking about the East-West Highway, as I said, it is important to mention the Anaglia port access road. As you will see from the numbers, the access road to Anaglia is only 17 kilometers, but due to the complex conditions on site, due to the geographical location, due to swamps and many other reasons, as I'm sure you're all aware, the financing for this project is around $100 million. However, due to the dedication towards making Georgia more transit-friendly, towards boosting our economy and making the port more accessible to cargo going in and out of the port, we're dedicated to completing this project the same day the port will be completed to make it accessible. Now to move on to north-south direction, which is also quite important for us. The north-south direction covers from Larsi border cross point going to Tbilisi and then connecting to the east-west highway. When speaking about this part of our highway system, we must mention that it is one of the most, first of all, visually stunning parts. It will have an arch bridge which is 150 meters high and 450 meters long, but also it is the most technically complex due to the 9-kilometer tunnel we have and several tunnels which are 3-lane tunnels which don't have a comparison in the country or in the region. The current travel time across this road is 2 hours 40 minutes in optimal conditions, but due to heavy weather conditions in the region, we often get heavy snow, because of which for 2-3 weeks sometimes it is closed during the winter. Therefore, once this is completed, transit can flow across this road also without any delays. Lastly, we have the Kakheti direction, which is also ongoing. 40 kilometers are already completed. We're currently finalizing before next summer an additional 15 kilometers, and then the plan is to connect to the northern part of Azerbaijan through the Lagodehi border cross point and integrate also the Kakhetian economy on the east-west highway, therefore adding to the global value chain. I will try to
bring it all together.
Yes, I'll try to bring it all together. As the point of this whole discussion is how Georgia should be integrated further into the global value chain, because we are already a key player of the east-west, of the middle corridor, or the Silk Road, if you want to say. Because of the efforts starting all the way from the 2000s, right now we have increased on the east-west direction. The increase of cargo has already reached more than 300%. In the next 5 years, once we complete all the crucial parts of the east-west highway, this will increase by an additional 50 compared to today, but by 600% starting from the early 2000s. To put it into numbers, in the early 2000s, the cargo was approximately 400 vehicles per hour, and by the end of the project, we are planning to increase this to 2,000 vehicles per day, excuse me, but I'm talking about only cargo haulers and massive trucks only moving to ports and border cross points. If we speak about general car numbers, it will be too hard to comprehend. The same situation we have on all the other direction. Therefore, from the road department, we are trying to finalize, we are finalizing all the projects and connecting Georgia from east to west, from north to south, and from central Georgia in all directions. This will be the route, so from the, as I mentioned, in the east-west highway, from the Red Bridge and Sadakhlo border crossing points, we will be moving the highway further, avoiding all the populated areas and connecting it to all our major ports, including the upcoming Anaklia port, with railway stations as well, with airports and all other major infrastructure points within the country. This will be all from my side. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Cemal. So I hope, ladies and gentlemen, you get the picture. Transit times are shrinking, capacity is expanding, and all the different modalities of transport are linking up ever so much better. And did you hear Anaklia Port being mentioned several times? Now we're going to turn to something completely different, and that is electricity, which doesn't really have to do with these things. However, it will serve the growth needs of the country considerably. And I'm going to hand over to Mr. Zviad, who's going to tell us about the Black Sea submarine cable project, which will not only serve Georgia's needs, but also the EU's climate goals. How is that going to happen?
Thank you very much. It is a big honor for Georgian State Electoral System to be among such projects. It's really amazing, and we hope that this project will contribute to that global connectivity. Warm regards to panelists, to distinguished guests, and to you, Nisha, and thank you for inviting us. As regards to submarine cable project, I can give you some background information about it, that it was a Georgian initiative that I personally have heard more than 10 years ago in Energy Community Secretariat, while it was firstly submitted for pre-assessment, and I was at that time working in the regulator, and it was very interesting for us to check all these assumptions. After it undergo several preliminary studies that was facilitated by World Bank, by USCA, and Energy Community Secretariat, and finally in 2022, while we saw that this project had quite potential for a region, for Georgia, it motivated Georgian government to initiate full-scale feasibility study that started in 2022, as I mentioned, and it was conducted by Italian consulting company CESI with World Bank financing, and its side inspired broader cooperation in the region between 4 countries: Azerbaijan, Georgia, Romania, and Hungary, and that these countries concluded agreement establishing so-called Green Energy Corridor project initiative, and this is of course the part of this, let's say how we call it, renewable or green middle corridor project. So feasibility was over in 2024, and once again it confirmed let's say the project benefits, and the project continues to develop with strong financial support of World Bank through Aspire program, which means enhancing energy security through interconnection and renewable energy. So this is multi-phase loan program with some grant component, of course. With on first phase we have 35 million to be spent on marine studies and environmental impact assessment and other necessary technical studies. On second phase, 50 million will be directed for internal grid reinforcement for Georgia, for Romania, and on third phase, more than 400 million US dollar will be directed for submarine cable construction works. I hope that at next Silk Road Forum we will be able to provide real photos rather than these graphical photos showing construction or the cable real photos. But right now this is what I have for explaining the configuration of the project. So this project contains 2 components. One is power cable, submarine cable, and second is data cable. So it's not only energetic project, let's say, and maybe for transmission system operators, for electricity, TSOs, it's not very common to have also data component into this project, but there's quite enough synergies, and of course all these cables have to use the same corridor, and the studies have to be common, but we from the beginning can say that data cable will not be integrated into the power cable due to certain constraints, technological constraints, and the depth and maintenance needs of the cable. So it will be apart but very close, laid down in the sea. So technology what was selected is bipolar VSC super fast technologies that will allow us not to have one directional export flows but more exchange, more balancing cooperation, and that is also requirement from EU framework legislation. The capacity is 1,300 megawatt. That was detected as optimal capacity in technical and economic matters, but investigated from 1,000 to 1,500, and approximately 10 terawatt hour will be able to be exchanged annually. As regards to the data cable, so we investigated three options, 8, 16 and 24 fiber pairs, and so far 16 is more economic, but of course this outline of the project will depend on the regional market, on the IP, on the demand of IP transit traffic, and that this is a link between Asia and Europe, so there's big market behind in Asia, so this capacity can be also let's say changed and upgraded, so we will see how this project will develop together or apart. It's very important to look also economic benefits and costs of the project. The feasibility study was quite detailed on this matter. I will not go through all these figures, but I can say that while there is investment costs from 3 to 3 billion euros, there's much more economic benefit of the project. So main intention was to let's say track social economic benefits and CO2 climate benefits. That is very let's say basic due to the price differential and the renewable energy that will be flowing, the nature of the energy, but we understood there's quite big benefits also in other type. For instance, reserve adequacy. This for energy specialists, it's a very, very important thing that we can have cost saving in both regions for the reserves, also decreased curtailments of renewable energy, other side positive effects like employment and influence on the GDP and using of these ports and logistical infrastructure, and also which is very important for us is that as Georgia already aligned to these renewable energy directives in terms of implementing guarantees of origin system that is compliant to Europe, and we are waiting for physical connection to European Union. This will be extra support for our and regional renewable energy, as they will have access to European market of guarantees of origin. That is very, very perspective in addition to the energy market. So governance structure is a little bit complicated, and it's always like this because that multinational big mega project always have that complicated governance structure, and that from high level basis of the project realization, of course, is 4-country agreement, but according to EU, let's say certain regulation like TENI and etc. There's 2 direct project promoters. It is GSC and Transelectrica, and we are happy to have Transelectrica representatives also attending these meetings with us. And of course the benefits of the project is broader, so there's quite big stakeholders, regional stakeholders, international stakeholders, and once again we'll highlight the importance of support of World Bank as project lenders and interest of other international international financial institutes. So while having said this, I just want to share with you the further steps, what we are going to take. First of all, we need to meet that goals that we submitted to European institutions, to ENTSO-E for TYNDP, and 2 days ago we got information that our project is already included in 2026-2036 TYNDP and to EU Commission for inclusion in the list of projects of mutual interest. We have to meet all these goals and deadlines. That's why it's very important to work on two directions. What we are doing right now, first to conduct as soon as possible that seabed survey for geophysical and geotechnical, and second to obtain PMI status. That will be quite big support of the project, and it will have additional access the project to additional funding. And as a conclusion, so there's two just I mean highlight the two scenarios of completion of the project. Is important to say. One is 2031 and second is 2033. Both dates are investigated by feasibility study and analyzed through sensitivity analysis, and above mentioned factors will have influence, particularly which date will be realized. As a summary for the project, I can say that this project has quite big political support and very important project for the region and from European Union, and that's why we hope for that economic support of the project. The project is of course very important for the social economic benefits, but also very important for the European Union that to meet the climate and sustainable development goals, for renewable energy development, for energy and data security, and for overall economic benefits. Thank you very much for attention. This was very quick what I wanted to share with you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Zviad, and also for reminding us that it's also a data cable. This afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to have a digitization panel discussion here, right here at the Biltmore. So please feel free to join us in that too, about digitalization transformation across the region. I'd like to just put one question to you, Mr. Zviad, if I may. You said it's going to be a two-way process. It's not just exporting electricity. So how do you see the electricity going through the subsea cable actually being shared out between the promoter countries?
Thank you for the question. It's really very important, and more information is available into the feasibility study, but I want just to focus on two components of the answer to this question. First one is that I already mentioned that this project is regional project. It's not only Georgia and Romania who generate and consume the energy. We both generate and consume, but we also support distribution and transfer of the energy to into our respective regions, right? So it means that energy will be the contributor to this flow will be regional countries. But of course, Georgia has its goal to realize the strategic energetic goal. Main direction is that to be main contributor as renewable energy producer, but of course to realize second main direction, which is to give transit function. Second component of this question is that we should not forget that Georgia is member of energy community, and which means that Georgian legislation is adapted and harmonized with European legislation, which makes easier for market coupling, for integration, for trade, because the same playing rules will be here, which will give access, free access, transparent access to all regional actors based on economic criteria. So this is what makes this project unique and attractive.
Yeah. Thank you very much. And it puts it right at the center of the EU Green Deal. Thank you. So, Mr. Jamal, you gave us such a comprehensive overview of what's going on the different highways across the country. What I didn't hear you mention was an intelligent transport system. But I bet you are planning to introduce that somewhere along the system, right?
Yes, thank you for this question. We are already in the process of finalizing the studies necessary for implementing the ITS system along the highways. We are now concentrating, of course, to implement this on the East-West highway. So the first step from our side, which will happen, I believe it will start next year, we will start implementing an ITS for all the tunnels across the Ricotti section and the East-West highway to have a centralized management system for all the tunnels. Right now, of course, the tunnels are controlled, but this is done locally. So from one control point to two tunnels or one tunnel. Now we're planning to unitize this, that all tunnels first across the East-West highway, then across all of Georgia, are monitored from a single space. Not just monitored, but also managed. With implementing the ITS, it will become not just easier, but it will be a completely different experience of managing the highways. We will have real-time data.
Why is it important to do that?
To manage traffic flows better, to avoid any kind of congestion of cars, but also additionally, if you remember, I said we're planning to add an additional 2 lanes across the Gori section. Once the ITS system is implemented, it will be possible for us to predict which parts of the highway are getting cramped up, let's say, and we'll be facing the same problems in the future. Therefore, we'll be able to have preemptive measures, start planning early to then implement additional measures before a problem arises.
Absolutely, and speed up transit times even more. Thank you very much. Mr. Levan, can I ask you a bit more about the Kutaisi and the new airport, Vasiani, outside Tbilisi? What's the bigger picture from all this? How will this, once you've got them going, how will they fit into wider international aviation networks?
Well, thank you very much. It's not an easy question, by the way, but look, the whole aviation world is managed under the Chicago Convention and system, and I will not go into the details, but there is then all the states have got an obligation, first of all, to come up with the proper infrastructure to serve the international aeronautical purposes. So first of all, it's an obligation from one hand, but from the other hand, that's an opportunity, and also there is a demand coming up, and growing demand that we have to answer, that there is a need to be answered, and that's where we are. I mean, so, but a part of that, you know, that aviation is widely known as a global catalyst of economy. So once you have that infrastructure in place, it's not only infrastructure, of course, it's a whole chain. I mean, you have airline companies, refuelers, and et cetera, I mean, airport, air navigation service providers. So it brings a lot of additional high qualified skill force, but a part of that, aviation also gives an opportunity to induce new jobs, like additional jobs, indirect works, like in hotels, taxi drivers, I don't know, ground handlers, and etc. I mean, a lot more. So it's considered a catalyst.
I had to fly here via Istanbul. From London, and hopefully in the future I won't have to do that.
Well, that's another point. Now we can monitor, and what we say with growing of the low-cost airline carriers, it's not hub and spoke. That I mean, people more want to travel more point to point. So point to point, that's an opportunity. So Kutaisi has proven to be a gateway for the western part of Georgia, but not only towards the European Union member states. But I just quickly, I mean, Jamal mentioned in all his slides, it was to reduce the time. So we cannot deny that aviation is the fastest mode of the transport, right? But in order to increase the performance, I mean, you don't want to be stuck in airports. So then you need a proper infrastructure, intelligent one, with maybe AI integrated, cyber secure, I don't know, aviation security, safety should be there embedded. But for that, to increase the performance, you have to invest, because you cannot buy the time, but you can invest in infrastructure to squeeze the time and make it optimal for the customers, for the traveling public. So safety is embedded in the system, like it is, but another one is the comfort. So people want to fly comfortably. So
absolutely,
that's where we are. So the goal is to have a very comfortable, modern, I don't know, green airports in the future, because the demand is there. So we want to provide the supply in this case.
Thank you, Mr. Levan. As Mr. Levan's been saying, it's all about shrinking time. And Ms. Lasha, you gave us a very, very good presentation right at the start about the way in which times have shrunk and will continue to do so on the railway system. But in the process, we can lose sight of what the whole goal of this is, right? Which is the transition of goods along the middle corridor. So can I ask you to step back for a minute and talk to us about the opportunities and challenges you see in terms of connecting goods between China and Europe?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, the main challenges that the corridor is facing today is that in its capacity. So we have to increase the capacity to the corridor. So the mainly one of the bottlenecks that we have. So actually, last month we've done mapping of the whole corridor from the Chinese border to Kazakhstan, then to Caspian, then to Azerbaijan, including ports and railways, then to Black Sea ports. So mainly we have identified the bottlenecks. We have identified where is the lack of capacity. So, and after this we made the guideline, and this is really like high-level documents that we've made, and we signed this guideline, and we took the obligations of the members of the middle corridor to have this, to follow the timeline where we have to solve the bottlenecks. Especially the bottlenecks we have today is on the Caspian Sea because of the shortage of the ferries. At the moment, under operation is four to five ferries. So, but fortunately, last month Kazakhstan signed, and they started procurement to add more ferries, add 2 more ferries for the next year, maximum next 2 years. So this will boost the capacity for the Caspian. So another bottlenecks that we have are on the railways and on the ports. As I mentioned, on my presentation, unfortunately, at the moment, Georgian Railway, because of the shortage in the rolling stock, we have some issues with this, and we are part, unfortunately, with this bottleneck. But again, so this renewal of the fleet of the locomotives will solve this, and we started already this project. So, and because of this. That's why we done this roadmap. This is very important. When I started my jobs, the first was that to go and see the corridors, what's the flow. So because of this, we've done, and we made this roadmap, and at the moment now we are doing all of what needs to be done to follow this manual. Another issue is for the corridor is to make the flow for the trains without the stopping. This is very important because all the time we have on average 3, 4, more than 7 hours sometimes in the border stopping. So yeah. The clearance issue is very important because from the China, the goods, they have huge volumes. We have to provide the service, and we have to provide the flow in a way that we have to facilitate this customs clearance in a way that we don't need to have such many stops.
So delays happen at the borders.
Yes, exactly, and that's why I think by the end of this year, on the Georgian side, on the border to the other Azerbaijan-Georgian border, we will solve this, and we will have, without stopping, we can cross the border, and this is very important for the corridor as well. So these are the challenges. The first is the capacity. We have to increase the capacity, especially on the Caspian.
Yep.
And second is the bottlenecks on the railways. So fortunately, next year we will have this new modernized railway, and this will cut this one major bottleneck that we have now at the moment. And I think next year we'll have in general for next year will be very improved situation on the corridor itself.
Yeah, thanks. And you've explained very well the importance of good communications with partner nations.
Yeah.
You can't just do it alone.
No, alone.
Because it's part of a whole chain.
So all the countries we are acting together. So just standalone country it can't do nothing basically. So that's why we are coordinating too much by each, and so that's why next year we will have huge substantial improvement for the corridor and for the railways and for the Caspian and for the ports.
Great, thank you, Mr. Lasha.
Thank you.
Ms. Tamar, you started us off by giving us an overview of what you hope Anaklir Deep Sea Port will deliver. We've heard a lot about speeds being shrunk and capacity increasing and better communications and customs processes with neighboring countries. What I haven't yet heard about is whether we're going to have higher value add. Are the goods themselves going to be more valuable and bringing more worth into the Georgian economy? What's your view on that?
Actually, as I have mentioned during my presentation, Anaklia, we are positioning Anaklia Deep Sea Port as a deep water gateway in the middle corridor. That's why handling actually larger vessels, the Bosphormax, Panamax type of vessel, having 60 meters of depth in the port. And as I have mentioned during my presentation, we are on the cap for the in the existing ports in terms of the containers. This will actually reduce the transshipment dependency and also integrated with the modern railway and the road links. These are also a substantial part of the making Anaklia successful. Actually, we have to mention that it will make faster and we will have the cost-efficient cargo flow. And also this will be coupled by extensive free trade agreements, what we do have with our neighbors, EU, China, and major economies. Also, it will be backed up with the free industrial zone, adding the value-added processing. So I think that Anaklia will be will transform Georgia in the regional hub and also a bridge between Asia and Europe.
Thank you very much, Ms. Tamar. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, we've just enjoyed a comprehensive overview of Georgia's ambitious infrastructure plans over 5 pillars with bigger ports and airports, stronger rail, smarter corridors. That's what it's all about, really, isn't it? So, what's it all about? Strengthening Georgia's global gateway role between East and West. I hope you take that away, if nothing else. Projects are underway, expansion is underway, and there are targeted, and we've got the World Bank team here. Thank you very much for joining us, who are supporting, of course, the Black Sea Cable. Step by step, ambition is becoming infrastructure. I hope you take that away, ladies and gentlemen. And infrastructure is leading to growth, and growth is leading to opportunity. Let's say thank you to our wonderful speakers. I'm Nisha Pillay. Thank you for joining us.